So, you're thinking about moving to the greater Lansing, Michigan area. That's great. So I want to give you this great piece of advice. Do not buy a home in Lansing until you watch this video. I mean it, okay? There's gonna be some really great information in this video. I'm gonna be talking about 10 things you need to know before buying a home in the greater Lansing, Michigan area. And be sure to stay tuned until the end, because the last thing is something that just broke today. As I am making this video. This is brand new news. You are not gonna wanna miss it, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. So let's sit back, relax, because we are about to start this new episode of Lansing, Michigan Life right now. Hey everybody, Troy Seifert here with the Capital Area Real Estate Specialist in the greater Lansing, Michigan area. I'm a realtor. I've lived here for over 17 years, since 2007. I love the Lansing area. And so I made this channel for people who are just like you, who are watching this channel, who are looking to relocate and might not have a clue about the Lansing, Michigan area. So whether you're looking to move to the area in 9 days, 90 days, 9 months, it doesn't matter. Feel free to call me, text me, email me, or schedule a Zoom call. All that information is in the description below. So feel free to reach out anytime, day or night. I do this full time. I would be more than happy to be able to answer your call or your text or your message. Also, if this is your first time viewing this channel, I would highly suggest liking, subscribing, or ringing the bell for any notifications so that you can be the first to be notified when a new episode of Lansing, Michigan Life goes live. And we go live about once or twice a week. So if you are looking to relocate here, you're thinking about it, definitely like, subscribe, or ring the bell for notifications. And I sometimes forget to say this in the beginning of my videos, but if you have any questions on anything, if there's something you want to comment on, if there's something you disagree with me on, I invite you to put it in the comments, and I will be more than happy to be able to dialogue with you on that. Also, you probably noticed I've got my handy dandy mug here. I'm finally holding this. It's my Animal Kingdom Lodge mug. I love going to Walt Disney World and love being able to go there, try to get there around once a year. Just love that area with my kids. And also it's cold outside right now, so this keeps me warm. I have something warm on my hands right now. So a lot of these videos that you're gonna be seeing, again, are gonna be showing me in long sleeve shirts, even outside vlog tours, all of that, because we are in the midst of winter season in Michigan right now. So I wanted to talk with you about 10 things that you need to know when you're buying a house. Some of these things have to do with the structure of the house. Some of the things have to do with the area. Some of the things just have to do with maybe, if you're a first-time home buyer, especially, like some things that would be advantageous to you. Also, if you're an investor, there are some good tips for you to be able to hear. I have 10 things that I'm gonna talk about, and I feel like all 10 of them are gonna be extremely important to you if you're looking to move here. So without further ado, let me get started with number one. I've talked about this time and time again, but I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth with this one, probably more so than the other ones. The first thing you need to know in Michigan are that the property taxes are high. Before you move here, the property taxes are high. I know that you love to do your Zillow searches and your Realtor.com searches, and they show you the taxes, and I'm telling you right now to ignore those property taxes that you see on there until you speak with a realtor or an agent or a loan officer who can give you an idea of what those taxes are gonna look like for you when you do purchase the house. Because more than likely, those taxes are going to be low. And here's the reason why. So, in Michigan, we have the third highest property taxes in the nation. Time to celebrate about that, right? So, third highest taxes in the state. And in 1994, what they decided to do to help relieve some of the tax burden on people is they made an amendment that taxes could only go up 5% each year. So if somebody bought this house in 1994 and they're selling it in 2024, that's 30 years later. It's only gone up 5%. So their taxes if it's only gone up 5%, it's not gonna reflect what the value of that house is. So what does that mean for you? Well, again, and I always use this chart, if you're buying a $400,000 house in a majority of the Lansing area, what'll happen is you'll have a standard equalized value. It's called the SEV value. They will take half of that value, okay? So let's say you have a $400,000 house, that SEV will be around $200,000, okay? And then they will have a taxable value. And so what happens with the taxes is that the SEV value, the assessment, continues to go higher and higher and higher, but the taxable value can only go up 5% each year. So there's a little bit of a gap between the taxable value and the assessed value. So if you have a $400,000 house, let's say, and the SEV value is $200,000, the highest your taxable value could be would be $200,000. So an average in the area, that's about $10,000 to $12,000 a year on a $400,000 house is what you're gonna be paying in property taxes. Now, again, it depends on area, so I'm making it very general and very generic. So again, when you're looking on Zillow and Realtor.com, these people could be owning the house for 10, 15, 20 years, and the taxable value only went up incrementally 5%, but the assessed value went way up, and it just does not match up with what the purchase price is. The only time that the taxes can go higher than that 5% is when you purchase a home. Or more importantly, those of you who are thinking about new construction, you've seen maybe some of my new construction videos. If you're looking to buy a new construction home in many townships, not all of them, but in many townships, when you purchase the house, your standard equalized value will go up and your taxable value can match that. Meridian Township, which is in Okemos, Hazlet, parts of East Lansing, it's known for doing that. So your taxes could skyrocket if you find a house that maybe the taxable value was in Okemos, maybe it was only $80,000, so like $160,000 really for a value, and then you buy the house at $350,000, your taxes could double on something like that, okay? And so it's just something for you to be aware of. Some townships go by an average, so not all of them go, hey, you buy a house, and boom, your taxes are gonna go right up to like what that purchase price is. Some townships do that. Some just do an average and they look at the average price of the homes and then they create what they feel the taxable and assessed value would be. But this is important for you, especially with new construction, because your first year, you're gonna love it. Your first year, you're gonna have extremely low taxes, if any. Like you're hardly gonna have any at all. Then when the next year comes, that taxable value will match up with the assessed value, which will be half of what you purchased that house for. So you have to be aware of that because sometimes the builders might not tell you that. Maybe the loan officer might, they might give you an idea, but just be aware that your taxes that first year, they're gonna be super low, it's gonna be great, but be sure to budget for the taxes going extremely high, okay? So the property taxes, again, in Michigan are high. There are some rules to that, and that's something you have to be aware of when you're looking at another home, that your property taxes will more than likely increase, especially with like how high the purchase prices have been going recently in the area and how they've gone up 10, 15, 20% in some areas. So it's just something for you to be aware of before you move here. All right, number two, the thing that you have to be aware of is home heating and energy efficiency. We are in a colder state. So you have to be aware of, in our area, that gas costs are gonna be high. Most people have natural gas furnaces in our state. Some people have propane if you live out in the country. Some people have electric heating, which that would be a higher heating cost. Very few people have oil heating. Now I know that in some parts of the United States that oil heating's still around. That's not something that's extremely popular especially in the Lansing area. There's not a whole lot of homes there still are some homes that have that, but a lot of those homes have then converted over to natural gas furnaces. So whenever you are looking at a home, be sure that you are aware of the efficiency of the furnace. Be sure that the windows are sealed properly so that you're not letting cold air in, because your costs for heating are gonna skyrocket. And a lot of times with our team, we tend to ask the agent of the property that you're looking to buy, we tend to ask them, hey, what are the utility costs? So that you have an idea of that. So again, be aware that especially like in the winter months, your utility costs can go quite high because of Michigan's climate. Okay, number 3. This is going to be important to some of you, and to some others it might not. But it's something I want to point out because I have people from many different states watching this channel. So number 3 is that the transactions that we have for buying a home are more agent-led transactions, not attorney-led transactions. Let me explain. Some states like New York, for instance, I think New Jersey might be this way as well too, and maybe a handful of other states. But I've had clients come from those areas, and when you make an offer, you have your real estate agent, they put the offer through. Once it gets accepted, you might have a time period where you have to have an attorney review your documents. So there might be that contingency in there. And then your attorneys are the ones that schedule the closing for you. It's almost like your agent closes it for you and then your attorney takes over for the remainder, and it's according to their schedule. Well, it's not that way in Michigan. Really, the real estate agent helps you buy the home. We are in an attorney-led state here in Michigan. A lot of people really don't use real estate attorneys to review documents. You can if you want, but we have crafted documents from attorneys already in our area, and so people just don't see the need to be able to do that. And so you're not going to have a review period. You're not going to have attorneys who are trying to schedule the closings. Instead, we go to a title company. Well, the agent is responsible for helping you schedule that, helping you find the title company. We're really in Michigan, agents definitely bring a lot of service and a lot of value in our state. So I say that to you because in Michigan especially, like, it's important for you to find that person who you're going to gel with, vibe with, who's going to really take care of you and give you good service and be super responsive and communicative. So again, just so you're aware, in Michigan, agents definitely are more hands-on in the transactions, and there really aren't attorneys. There are some real estate attorneys around, but they are few and far between. Okay. Number 4, I'm going to be talking about flood zones. And especially in Lansing. Lansing, we have the Grand River. It goes for miles and miles and miles. The Grand River is a beautiful body of water that runs through the capital. We have several rivers actually in our area. So there are flood zones. What I will tell you is this: A, do not pay attention necessarily to the Realtor.com or Zillow flood zone maps because they're not entirely accurate. Talk to a loan officer or talk to an agent to see if this is in a flood zone, because we're going to have the remarks of whether it is or not. And the other thing I will tell you about being in a flood zone is there are some places where it's just ridiculous that that property is in a flood zone. I've seen that happen. And so you can contest it in our area. You had to bring somebody back out to look at the elevation. But I've had people who have had their flood zone or their flood insurance overturned, that they didn't need it anymore. So that is an option for you here if you are in a flood zone. If you're looking closer to like where Potter Park Zoo is, which I haven't really talked a lot about that, I will talk about it in a future video, but if you're by the zoo, there's a neighborhood called Sycamore Park neighborhood. That is in a flood zone. It's very close to a river there. There are some low pockets here and there where flood insurance has been beneficial, but for a majority of people, flood insurance hasn't been like a huge benefit and they have to pay it anyway. So that's why I want to give basically there could be an option where you could bring somebody else out to have that flood zone certification on that property removed. All right, number 5, we've got a lot of neighborhoods, and a lot of those neighborhoods have homeowners associations. So what do you need to know about homeowners associations in Michigan, and how do we kind of handle that? Well, you have to know the bylaws, and you have to know, what does the homeowners association allow for? Some of you might have chickens, livestock with you, and you want to bring the farm with you, but you want to live in a neighborhood. Well, there's some areas that restrict that in Michigan, and you have to be aware of that. So with homeowners associations, with the way our team handles it is when an offer is put through, we typically ask for the bylaws for you to be able to review them. And it's contingent upon upon those bylaws being satisfactory to you. Some homeowners associations allow for fences, some do not. Some homeowners associations say that you can park on the street, some say you can't. All of them have different bylaws, and especially for condo associations, you're definitely gonna wanna look at those bylaws, and you're gonna wanna take a look at their budget reports to make sure that they are right on target with their budget, so that you don't get this huge assessment one day because they can't afford to re-roof your condo, okay? So again, homeowners associations, that's what you have to be aware of, that there are many of them, and you just have to kind of be aware of what is restricted, what is not. Okay, number 6. So with number 6, this is an important one. It has to do with basements and water issues, okay? Basements and water issues. So with basements in Michigan, you could be coming from, I know that there's several homes in Texas, in Nevada, in Florida. If you're coming from some of those states, it's typical for homes to be on a slab on grade, and that's just the way the homes are. Well, be aware when you move to Michigan, homes that are on a slab on grade really aren't worth as much as homes that have a basement, that have that storage area. A lot of people in Michigan, their expectation is to have an area that has storage. That's what they want. They want to have a garage. They want to have an area where they want to have a storage area somewhere. And if you're on a slab on grade and there's no garage, where are you going to store everything, right? So in Michigan, slab on grade is not all that common. And in fact, it can sometimes be a deterrent from you, or can be a deterrent for you when you're looking to sell a house. So the more common thing in Michigan is having a full basement that has a standard ceiling height where you could potentially finish it or not finish it. Now in Michigan, there are Michigan basements where it's the non-standard height, where you're kind of ducking down a little bit, walking around. There could be dirt on the ground as well. And a lot of times that's found in an older home. There's also crawl spaces. You have to be sure that there's proper ventilation and there's a vapor barrier in there. If you have a certain type of loan, they're going to be searching for that. For, you know, FHA or VA loan, they're going to be sure that crawl space is properly ventilated. But again, you're not going to have a place for storage. There could be, you know, I have seen some 4-foot deep crawl spaces where you could store, but that's few and far between. So there are crawl spaces, but again, if you have a basement in Michigan, it is considered a luxury, I feel, because you do have a storage area. Again, not every home has that full basement, and some homes are unfinished and they're really not finishable, I guess, because they might be extremely, extremely old. So the thing about Michigan that you have to realize with basements is that because of our winters, because of the freezing and then the thawing in the ground and then the freezing and the thawing, that can be kind of tough structurally on some Michigan basements. And so what I tell people is this, is that, you know, in your inspection report, you could see some hairline cracks. You could, you know, and that's okay because of settling. That's just kind of what happens in Michigan. Homes settle. You got to be aware of huge cracks that might be like in bigger than an inch, or a stair stepper crack that, you know, might be showing that something structurally is happening, or a warped wall, which there's certain things that you can use here in this area. But I want you to be aware that basements can be a tough thing in Michigan just because of the weather. And so that can lead to water issues. Just like I've been talking about the roads, where, you know, in the roads in Michigan, that when it gets cold, then, you know, everything freezes, and then when everything warms up, it thaws, and then it can create just holes and areas where water can get inside. So it can be the same way a little bit with basements, because all of a sudden, like, water can creep through. Now, I would say majority of basement water issues are because people don't use their downspouts correctly. They don't have the homes graded properly. That is something that could happen, yes. But sometimes water can get through, and then people are a little paranoid, you know, or a lot paranoid about it. It's a big issue. And then we do have waterproofing places here that can be able to help you out with that. A lot of basements have sump pumps in them. That is a very common thing as well. So be on the lookout for those, like when you're looking at homes. But again, just trying to tell you, homes in Michigan do have basements. Some of them are finished, which adds a little bit of value. Some of them are not. And the other thing I will tell you too is when you're looking in Michigan on Zillow, you're gonna find, and this is very common on Zillow, you're gonna see 4,000 square feet in the home. And they're not gonna show you what the above grade square footage is. They're gonna include also the above grade square footage and the basement square footage. They're gonna combine it. So then you have no idea how much square footage is up top. And you're like, wow, this home has 4,000 square feet. And they're gonna show you the price per square foot. They're gonna include all of that in there. And that is so, I feel like that is such a disservice to people, because really like they should just be showing what the above grade square footage is, because that's the most costly for builders to do. And then basement square footage is a lot cheaper to be able to finish off. And so that is something you have to be aware of when you're doing your search filters. Be sure that combined square footage isn't combining the basements, because that's not going to give you as much value as well. So just some common things about basements. Hopefully that's helpful to you. And let's continue to move on here. The next thing has to do with radon. Radon is a gas. It's a radioactive gas that lives in the ground, made from uranium. It is present here in Michigan. If people are exposed to it in a certain way at a certain level, it can cause lung cancer. And so in Michigan, we have found that 1 in 4 houses have higher elevated levels of radon, which our level is 4.0 or above. When it's a test, it requires a radon mitigation system. We encourage all of our people that buy homes to have a general inspection, but also to have a radon inspection and a pest inspection in case there's something like termites, carpenter ants as well. But radon is one of those, and it's about a $100 test that you do, $125. They test it for 2 days, and if it comes in high, usually that falls on the seller, and it's about $1,000 piece of equipment that sits in your basement, has a little fan that pushes the radon gas out. It can be quite prominent in windier weather, certain seasons. I don't know why. I know it's more of a climate-driven gas, but it is something for you to be aware of when you move here, that is something you're gonna wanna have tested before you buy a house. And if you have a really good agent, they will encourage you to be able to do that. Okay, number 8 is winter-related maintenance. So what you have to be aware of in Michigan is that you are going to have to shovel or snow blow a lot. If you don't, then your driveway is going to pay for it, then your sidewalks are going to pay for it. Because if all of a sudden you have this freezing on top of the cement and then you just decide to let it sit and you don't do anything about it, then all of a sudden it's going to melt and it's gonna freeze again. And you're gonna have an issue with your driveway, with your sidewalks. And if you have water too close to the basement, you can have issue with your basement walls as well too. So snow removal in the driveways, your roof as well. Like that is something that's extremely important, because roofs, I feel, don't last as long here in Michigan as they do in other areas. If you're in a hurricane area, obviously you have a lot of wind, but if you have snow, that adds weight to the roof. And so I find, like, even though they say there might be a 30-year shingle, here a lot of times they last 20 to 25 years, roofs do. Just as a heads up. So just be aware of the winter related maintenance that you're gonna have. Okay, number 9 has to do with zoning and local ordinances. Be aware of them. There are different rules, deed restrictions on title where you cannot do certain things. And I say this more to investors because East Lansing, especially East Lansing City, has rental laws. Lansing has some rental laws, but they're not nearly as strict as East Lansing. And so you have to be aware of, well, what can I do for renting? Can I make this house an Airbnb? Can I make this a short-term rental? Is this something that I'm possibly able to do? Are there specific codes that I need to be aware of? Can I make this agricultural zone property? Can I make it into residential, or vice versa? Can I make this residential property a commercial property? You know, there's all these, just be aware that there are different zoning, agricultural, residential, commercial, and be sure that, like, if you need to flip-flop them, that you can do it. And again, that's what an agent does for you. And number 10, very last one, has to do with our first-time homebuyer benefit loan. It's a MSHDA loan. It's spelled MSHDA. It stands for Michigan State Housing Development and Authority. This is a loan that's available to first-time homebuyers, and just breaking today, we found out that what used to be a $225,000 purchase limit for a house has skyrocketed up to close to $500,000. And the governor is going to sign a bill to make sure that this gets implemented. Now, the purchase price can fluctuate depending on what the economy is like, from what I understand. And so they're using a formula to be able to come up with what that purchase price can be. But it's a great day for people who are first-time homebuyers. Now, in our area, you have to have an income limit to be able to qualify for it. And usually you have a lesser interest rate, and then you have down payment assistance up to $10,000. And then that's something that gets paid off when you close on your house later on. And, but it helps your interest rate go down because you have $10,000 less dollars that you have to pay maybe towards your balance, or it can go towards your closing costs. So an incredibly effective program that has helped many first-time home buyers, and that they raise the limit that high is huge. Now, again, I said that there's income limits. The income limits for an individual are around $90,000 to $100,000 in certain areas. It depends by county, so it varies. And then for households of 3 or more people, it really caps out at $130,000 for all the areas I've seen in our area. So part of it, you can do the math and see, but there's not going to be a whole lot of people with a $130,000 limit that are going to want to get a $500,000 house. Maybe they will, I don't know. But I could see that instead of $225,000, you might be able to get a $300,000, $350,000, house easily, and you couldn't do that with this MSHDA loan. So you have more down payment assistance, you could have a lower interest rate. So if you're looking to move here and you're a first-time home buyer, this could be something that could definitely benefit you. And I do have a contact of a loan officer in the comments or in the description below as well. So feel free to reach out to him whenever. So again, I thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate you coming to this channel. This is all the time I have for right now. But again, if you need help with anything real estate related, call, text, email me, or schedule a Zoom link with me. All the information is in the description below. And also, please like, subscribe, or ring the bell for notifications so that you can be one of the first people to be notified when a new episode of Lansing, Michigan Live goes live. So again, I just thank you for your time. Thank you for watching this channel. And until next time, make it a great day.